Okay, guys and gals, so today we're taking the past few lessons in which we've learned the slope-intercept form, how to write that, and how to graph from that, or how to write that equation from graphs. And we're taking it a step further and looking at how this can apply to some real-world situations. So our learning target for the day is I can graph, write equations for, and analyze the equations and graphs for lines in a real-world situation. You should already have that written down, and you should also already be seeing that we have our little cups organizer here. Whenever you see that cups organizer, you need to be thinking of those word problems. And we know that, just as pictured, we're going to label this as cups. Now, C is always going to stand for circle, important, info, and numbers. Then U is going to be to underline the question, because we can do all of the work in the world, but if we're not answering the question, then it doesn't really matter. Then P will be to develop a plan. So over the course of these few days, we've been looking at slope-intercept form. So when we're dealing with these word problems, they're going to say to use slope-intercept form. So as part of our plan, we need to write out slope-intercept form. So we know we're going to be using the y equals mx plus b equation. Also today, we're going to be graphing. And when we're graphing, I want us to be thinking about independent and dependent variables. And also, let's put substituting in here, because that's going to play a big role in that equation and graphing portion. And finally, of course, super short, sweet, and to the point, S stands for solve. So cups is just a way for annotating those word problems. So here, the very first word problem we're going to look at is a teacher does word problem, meaning that I'm going to do that with just a little bit of support from you guys. This is mostly going to be me doing this just so you can see it and how to do it without having to overthink it just yet. And then after that, you all are going to participate in some we do's doing it together, and then you'll have one independently to do on your own. But for right now, just follow along with me. Be sure to write this down as well so you have the example to look back on, and just think as I'm explaining. So a plumber charges $25 for a service call. I'm going to use cups during my reading process. So $25 is an important number, of course, so let me circle that. $25 for a service call plus $50 per hour of service. Now I'm seeing another important number, $50, but I'm also seeing plus. Of course, plus means that we're going to be doing some adding here. So I'm just going to circle that and then annotate that, make a little note saying that this means to add. $50 per hour. Ooh, let's circle that whole thing. $50 per hour, because when I hear that per, I know that that's a unit rate. Per means to multiply. So I'm saying $50 times hour as it is written. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. Just as I said in the plans, going to be looking for y equals mx plus b. So let's underline that. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the cost C after H hours of service. What will be the total cost for 8 hours of work? So there's our final question that is wanting us to answer. Now, if I'm going back to the plan, y equals mx plus b was part of our plan. Let's jot that down. Y equals mx plus b. So that's the format that they want the equation in. And now we also wrote down substituting in our plan. Now, I'm going to look and see, okay, what can I substitute in for these variables to make this make sense within the context of this problem? So y equals mx plus b, got some multiplication, some addition in here, and what do you know? Where I've annotated, we've got some multiplication and addition. So 50 times h, that's multiplication, mx is multiplication. I could rewrite this to look like that, kind of sandwiched together like the m and the x. So let me write that underneath, and then plus, I have to think, okay, what is b? What is my y-intercept? Is there anything I'm plussing here? Oh, it says plus, which we know is to add. 25 plus. So I know I'm adding 25 onto that. And instead of y, I have hours, h. We're going to say that is cost, c. So c equals 50h plus 25. There is our equation. We have that part done. Now for the answer, what will the total cost for 8 hours of work be? So we need to do a little bit more of that substituting. I'm going to write out my equation again, 50h plus 25. And I'm going to look and see, okay, what can I substitute in that problem? What will be the total cost for 8 hours? 8 hours, that's cost. H stands for hours. So 50, and instead of h, we're going to write down 8. Then I'm just going to work that out using the order of operations. 50 times 8 is what I'm going to solve first. 5 times 8 is 40. Then add on that other 0. 400 plus 25. Cost equals $425. Awesome. So now answered this part of the question as well. So the question doesn't say to graph, but on your independent assignment today, you will be expected to graph some of these word problems and the equations that surround them. So when we're graphing, we have to go back, look at the independent, dependent variable setup, and we know that x is our independent, y is our dependent. And thinking back, remember when we were looking at independent versus dependent, I always look and see what are the two things being measured. And in this case, I see the dollar sign, so I know money or cost. And then I see hours. So I'm going to write those down, costs and hours. And I always reword it. I say, does the cost depend on the hours, or does the hours depend on the cost? So obviously the cost depends on the hours. So this is the dependent and this is the independent. So now I'm going to put hours here, cost here, and just going to count by 2 for the hours. Now I start there, my origin 0, 0, 0, and because this is going up by 25 each time, I'm just going to count by 25s over here. And I need to do a lot of substituting in order to graph this. So at 0, if I put 0 in for h, 50 times 0 plus 25, it's going to start 25. 50 times 2 is 100 plus 25, 125. 50 times 4 is 200 plus 25. And sometimes, guys, you're going to get graphs that go off or they end kind of suddenly, and that's okay as long as I can see that you've got this part correct.